then at least your body is getting back to nutritional shape. It's getting back to whatever your physical strength and or ability is supposed to be. And rugby is a true picture of that. We've seen that happen to the rugby sevens team, and that when everything is working the way it should work, then our athletes, I think, are very superior to others.
In terms of the preparation, I mean, what's factually out there is that we know for a fact, we know for sure that there were visa delays, especially for Omanyala, which was out there in the news. It was out. Everybody knew that there was delays with getting his visa, and of course that may have contributed to the poor showing that we saw. Now he's one of the few who got his visa delayed. Like there's others who went there, a couple of days before they actually got on the track to race on the race day. So I think the next meet that's coming at Birmingham, which is the Commonwealth Games, I think that's where we're going to try to figure out whether whether that was the issue, or if there might be another underlying issue. And at this point, like I want to introduce, like the other panelists, Mosh Fire, Karibu Sana.
Asante sana Bonali.
Okay. All right, good. So what are your quick thoughts on maybe why there was a poor showing? I mean, now, to be clear, the event is not over. We still have other events happening tonight, I think happening tomorrow. So the event is not over. So there's still other chances for Kenya to win gold. But generally, in some of the races that we expected Kenya to win, like the 1,500 meters, we did not. The 3,000 meter steeplechase, we did not. So what are part of the things that happened the athletes coming to Eugene, Oregon? What do you think are some of the things that may have contributed to their poor performance?
For me, and based upon the things that we have seen and what traditionally happens, to me it just I think bottom line comes down to poor planning and preparedness. I don't know if I would say this is on the athlete side in terms of preparedness, because there's training that you do prior to, and then there's training that you do, and I don't know if they put them in a camp or something, or they have meets, or they have something that they do prior to, okay, kuna ile, this the selection point, and then once the team has been selected, do they then now take them, go to camp, and then say, okay, we're now going to train for X amount of time, and then we will leave to go to, wherever the games are going to be. But it seems there was the planning seems like was not necessarily the best. And though what came out was this whole travel thing with Omanyala, because, it's Omanyala. Mm-hmm. But in terms of, to be fair, other countries were even having visa issues.
Yes, it wasn't only
So
Kenya.
It wasn't only Kenya that were having visa issues coming into the U.S. And the U.S. has a certain policy that they use, with the visa processes. And also probably the way they do the vetting, and maybe that's why, as Mika alluded to, the fact of Omanyala possibly having an issue at some point. So they needed further clarification. He needed to come back, and maybe that information or communication did not come down to him in time for him to go back and respond and give those guys the things they wanted, because it's not like somebody could do it for you. You have to physically go there.
Yes.
Which means it needs to be an appointment. You have to speak to somebody, and they have to speak directly to you, not speak to Ministry of Sports or speak to Athletics Kenya. They have to speak to the person who's applying for the visa. So that that's the Omanyala part. But then in terms of the team overall, I just think it's plain old outright preparedness. And we've had these issues, or we've had talks about our teams and the cast that they carry with them, other than, say, the athletes themselves, the support cast,
yeah.
The physios, the therapists, the dietitian, whatever you want to call them. All those people are supposed to help keep you in a tip-top shape, so that when you're in between competitions, then at least your body is getting back to nutritional shape. It's getting back to whatever your physical strength and or ability is supposed to be. And rugby is a true picture of that. We've seen that happen to, the rugby sevens team. And that, when everything is working the way it should work, then our athletes, I think, are very superior to others because they work with nothing from my perspective, in terms of what they have from a training perspective.
You're saying in comparison to what we see other countries provide for their athletes.
Yes, because those other countries, either people are professionals or semi-professional for the country.
Okay.
Meaning your job is you're a professional athlete for the country. Our guys are people who are picked. You come, you do your meets on behalf of the country, and then after that, you go on to, whatever it is that you're doing on an individual basis, or you go back to pasture, then somebody else comes back for whatever other games, you get picked, and so on and so forth. So we don't have a staple of people who are sitting in camp, and we're saying these are the guys who we're training for the country, and they're, we'll see this person come in time and time again in, say, 800 meters, or in, 400, or in 100, or in 3,000, or whatever. We always have a rotating door between 1,500, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. Marathon, not so much, because, that's one heck of a race. But again, we see things like that happening, which comes down, again, plain outright preparedness.
Okay, good.
But let me ask something. I mean, when you talk about preparedness, there's also the issue of, it's not that these things were just organized the other day.
No, they were not.
They have been. It's been on the calendar for a while.
Yeah.
At least, let's say, on a minimum 1 year.
Yeah.
On a minimum.
Yeah, it wasn't a surprise tournament.
But when were the teams selected? And when were these people selected? When did they go to camp? When did they start training? And were they afforded that type of training that was enough? Go ahead, Mika.
So we can say the last people who qualified were. I remember we talked about it even when we had that when we had the championship in Kenya, where a lot of star-studded, and people came in, and I think that Reno Manyala broke the record that day.
The Kipkeino Classic.
The Kipkeino Classic. Yeah, I think that was the last time that most people qualified for the World Championship. But most people had at least, like I said, the person had at least amount of time was like 2 to 3 months prepared. So people knew already when they were qualified. The athletes who were supposed to qualify knew a long time ago that they had qualified for it. So the preparations, in terms of these preparations, most of these people, we can also put it to this. Most of these guys spend time in the training camps. Utawapata Iten, Utawapata Nairobi, wherever they really spend the time. You've qualified most of the time at the training camps. Sometimes also just how your preparation was made is an issue. So maybe when you're athletes, the mental state of the athlete, how your mental being is. The other athletes just prepared better than us. Others maybe had better facilities than us. But it just shows you how competitive these things are. Because do you know when you go to the qualifiers for this championship, there's a time that you need to run to qualify for the Olympics. In Kenya, especially the long distance races, they take 4 people per race, right? You will find 20 people broke that time that's supposed to allow you to run for the Olympics. So the competition is so high also. So that just shows you in Kenya. Then these other people in other countries also probably have the same thing. They've been training all along. So it's a lot of factors that come in. But it starts from the environment the athletes are given to start that training.